You have high-fived 1,000 times. After a great punchline, a promotion at work, or just because your team scored. But here is the twist that will change how you see it forever. This little slap of the palms has an actual birthday, and two legendary teams in two different sports still argue over who threw the party. So let's go find the tape. Think about it. You slap a friend's palm without a single thought. It feels ancient, automatic, like a handshake or a hug. But the high five isn't ancient at all. It's new enough to have a first time caught on camera. And depending on who you ask, its origin story lives in two very different places. One is a sun-drenched Major League Baseball clubhouse in Los Angeles. The other is a squeaky, sweaty college basketball gym in Kentucky. To get why the high five was a big deal, you have to remember what came before it. For decades, the cool way to connect was the low five. It lived down by your hip. This was the slick, understated signature of jazz clubs and street corners, a piece of African-American slang and culture. As far back as the 1930s, Hepster dictionaries were defining "slap me five." It was a gesture of deep, quiet understanding. I see you. We're in this together. It was cool, but it was grounded. Then, in the late 1970s, sports on television absolutely exploded. Suddenly, the living room TV was a window into every stadium. And TV needed celebrations that were big, loud, and easy to see. The low five was too subtle. This new era needed something that played better on camera, something you could see from the cheap seats. Enter the above-the-shoulder airborne smack. It was pure, explosive joy. It wasn't quiet understanding. It was a firework. Let's drop into one specific day. It's a perfect sunny Sunday at Dodger Stadium, October 2nd, 1977. This is the last game of the regular season. The Dodgers have already clinched their spot in the playoffs, so the mood is electric, like a citywide victory lap. On the mound for the Houston Astros is the intimidating J.R. Richard, a giant who threw absolute gas. And digging into the batter's box for LA is outfielder Dusty Baker. And then, the crack of the bat. Dusty Baker connects, hammering the pitch deep into the California sky. It sails over the left field wall for his 30th home run of the season. He rounds the bases with a massive grin, the crowd just roaring. But this swing isn't just another run. It's a piece of baseball history. See, Baker's home run officially made the 1977 Dodgers the first team in Major League history to have 4 different players hit 30 or more homers in a single season. You had Steve Garvey with 33, Ron Cey with 30, and Reggie Smith with 32. Baker's blast was the 4th pillar of a legendary lineup. It was a national headline, a sports trivia question in the making. And because it was a headline moment, the television cameras are rolling and zoomed in. As Baker trots toward home plate, his teammate Glenn Burke is waiting in the on-deck circle. Overcome with joy, Burke raises his hands straight up in the air over his head. Baker later said he had no idea what to do. It wasn't a handshake. It wasn't a low five. It was just up there. So he did the simplest, most intuitive thing. He reached up and slapped it. Their palms made a crisp, satisfying pop. The dugout erupted, and the cameras caught it all. To understand why this moment stuck, you have to understand Glenn Burke. He was the life of the party in that Dodgers clubhouse, charismatic, funny, and full of energy. Teammates called him the king of high fives because he started doing it with everyone, for everything. But behind that infectious smile, Burke was carrying a secret he shared with only his closest friends on the team. He was gay. He was, in fact, the first Major League Baseball player to be out to his teammates and management. This was the 1970s. The world of pro sports was not a welcoming place. Burke's career was ultimately cut short, and many believe it was because his sexuality made management uncomfortable. So here is the wild, true angle. One of the most universal gestures of celebration in the world was sparked on camera by a black, gay trailblazer who, in a world that wanted him to hide, couldn't contain his joy. He lifted his hand in the most open, vulnerable, celebratory way possible, and history answered with a slap. Quick pit stop. If you are into the hidden origins of everyday stuff like this, do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. We're full of "wait, that is why" moments here. But hold on, because just a year later, a basketball team in Kentucky was cooking up its own version. This is the University of Louisville, the 1978-79 season. The team is running intense drills under their legendary coach, Denny Crum. At one point, forward Wiley Brown goes to give a low five to guard Derek Smith, but Brown looks up and says, "No, up high." Smith obliges. They smack palms above the shoulder. It feels good. It looks sharp. It becomes their thing. Wiley Brown, who had lost part of a thumb in a childhood accident, used to joke that some of his were just high fours. But the gesture was all about energy. And that Louisville team had energy to burn. They were known as the Doctors of Dunk, a high-flying, electrifying squad led by the phenomenal Darrell Griffith, nicknamed Dr. Dunkenstein. In 1980, they took that energy all the way to an NCAA championship. Their March Madness games, broadcast into living rooms everywhere, were a highlight reel of dunks, fast breaks, and celebratory high fives on the sideline. America saw it, and America copied it. The pros were watching too. The early 80s Showtime Lakers, with Magic Johnson leading the charge, made the high five a core part of their brand of basketball. It was fast, cool, and optimistic. From there, it jumped to Hollywood. Think of Maverick and Goose in Top Gun, slapping five after a victory. By the mid-80s, the high five was instant cinematic code for "we won, we're a team, we did it." After his brief career in the majors, Glenn Burke played softball in the Castro, San Francisco's famed gay neighborhood, where he was a local hero. The high five was his calling card. Tragically, Burke died from AIDS-related complications in 1995 at just 42 years old. But his story and his gesture lived on. In 2014, an ESPN documentary cemented the story of that October afternoon in 1977, ensuring that the joyful, spontaneous act of a trailblazer would not be forgotten. So, who invented it? Well, it's complicated. If you want the first filmed, dated, and corroborated instance, the evidence points directly to Glenn Burke and Dusty Baker on October 2, 1977. But if you want to know who supercharged the gesture and blasted it into the national consciousness via television, you have to give a huge nod to the Louisville Cardinals. It's a classic case of invention versus popularization. One moment created the spark. The other turned it into a wildfire. So here is the nugget you can share at dinner tonight. That simple hand slap you do without thinking? It's not some timeless gesture from the dawn of humanity. You can timestamp its first public appearance to a sunny Sunday in 1977, when a trailblazing outfielder, in a moment of pure joy, lifted his hand to the sky. And a teammate met him there. It's a story about sports, sure, but it's also about joy, identity, and how one person's spontaneous happiness can change the world, one slap at a time. High-five someone on your way out.